Please go ahead.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Nancy. Hi, everyone. Today, Robert and I will show you how to enter diacritics and special characters in Folio. What are the helpful tools that you can use and some useful documentation for this. So as many of us know, Folio lacks a built-in tool for entering diacritics and special characters. But the good news is that there are some external help tools that can be utilized to input diacritics and special characters in Folio. Folio supports both methods, the composed and the decomposed diacritics, and it discards the diacritics insertion. So what are the help tools that we are going to talk about it today? So we will talk about Macro Express, Auto Hotkey, RN21 keyboards, and Windows Character Map tool. The first tool that in the list is Macro Express, and using Macro Express has really good upsides, like many of us are familiar with it, available in almost all Sol PCs, easy to use, and the replicability where you can share the macro files with others. The downside for using it that there are few conflicts between certain hotkeys in Macro Express and the Chrome browser. And now Robert will show and talk to us more about it.
Okay. So let me bring this up here. I have to bring that up quickly. Okay. And get those there. Sure. There we go. Okay. So for Macro Express, we've got we started working on this almost 2 years ago because we have the same issue in Sinopia, which is the linked data editor we're working with here. And so we ended up setting up, we were going to post this along with some documentation on how to use these eventually, hopefully by the end of the week. And so let's see, we're in the Macro Explorer. Yeah, I just kind of lost my train of thought a little bit. We'll be posting this. The thing with Macro Express is we kind of came upon it because we do use it quite a bit. And we set up macros in it for all the diacritics and special characters, including subscript and superscript. The way a lot of these work is if we go and we actually, that's not a good example of it. That's an example. Oh, I need to show something here and I have to find a good. Okay, here is the one thing Magda mentioned, that there was going to be some problems for a few diacritics, because what Macro Express we often have it doing is we're having it virtually put the Alt key in a down position, and then occasionally the hexadecimal code for the character contains a letter. And in a few instances in Chrome, that will set off one of Chrome's built-in default hotkey combinations. Now, there is a plugin in Chrome that suppresses some of those, but the one it can't suppress is Alt-E for reasons that I am utterly unclear about. So you'll notice we've deactivated the ligature left half and right half, and a couple of the subscript and superscript characters because they just don't work in this. So we have to, so for people who will need to use those, there's another method that they'll be able to use that we'll get to. But if we go and look at one of these again, at one of these macros, when you work with this file, you can go into the properties and change the hotkey to something. If you don't like what I have selected, you can always go in here and change things. You can also go in scope and change the scope of the program. I've got these things, these macros right now to run only in Firefox and Chrome, but you know, you can always go in there and change that if you so wish. Additionally, you can, anything that you really don't need, you can either by right-clicking, you can disable it, or you can delete it altogether. What else should I show? When you want to import any macros, you've downloaded this macro and you want to import any of the macros into an existing file, you would go here to import macros and point it to the file, and you can either import all of these macros or you can import only some of them. I can actually show you this actually does work in Folio. Okay, I have to go into Folio quickly. That's not it. Oh, wait, there we go. Share again. Go, hopefully.
We can exist down.
See if we can move that out of the way. There we go. Can go to Folio and that out of the way. So got a note field here in Folio. And so for macros I've got set up, if you know, if I need an acute over a capital A, I hit Control B, I get that. If I need an umlaut over an O, I've got it set up for Control H, and that'll work. If I need a C with a hot check over it, and so forth. So, you know, using these kind of hotkeys, you can end up getting something like what we get in OCLC, where you know, do have a lot of built-in key commands. Let's see, is there anything else that I need to do here? I think that's about it for it. There'll also be something in the instructions to use Macro Express. You will have to probably go into your registry to add an input method, but I'll have that documented with screenshots. And I think that's it for Macro Express. So that we go to that. Let's see here. Okay.
All right. So now we will talk about the second tool today. It's Auto Hotkey. So what is Auto Hotkey? Auto Hotkey is a free open source scripting language for Windows that allows users to easily create small to complex scripts for all kinds of tasks, such as macros for diacritics and special characters, of course. This freeware has very good upsides, like it's free and open source, the ease of use, and the replicability, as you can share the macro files with others too. The downside, it has download requirement, of course, and should run the macros file before use. And Robert will talk more about it now.
Okay. Here. Share the screen again. And there we go. There we go. Yeah. And for this, we will also put up this, we'll put up this file of macros that we created, and also with instructions on how to use it. To actually start the program, and you just basically, you double click on your macro file, and then I don't know if this is probably not going to be showing on the screen share, but you will see a small icon. Let's see, maybe I can share my desktop. I don't know if this is showing up, but in the toolbar, you can see a small little H icon. And if you right click, you see you can exit it, suspend a hotkey, pause a script, and importantly, the reload a script. If you're in the process of editing a macro file and then you want to go and test it out, you always have to reload it after you've changed anything. Let's see here. I will actually open up the macro file, and then so then here we have the actual macro file. This is using a scripting language, and this is the one, this may be a downside for a lot of people because Auto Hotkey doesn't have a GUI interface like Macro Express does. But for the macros that actually send diacritics and special characters, the macros are actually fairly straightforward. Things to note is that a semicolon will set off comments. And so you can see we've got kind of a few comments here. One that shows what the commands for the keys we're using in the hotkey combinations. The caret is the control key, the exclamation mark's the alt key, and the plus sign is the shift key. So if we actually look at the first macro, which is, and in here we've got all the names of these things set off with a semicolon. But these are fairly simple. Like this one for the acute, it's basically Control Alt B. It's got these two semicolons here, a send command, and then it's got the hexadecimal code. And because it's sending the characters this way, there is absolutely no conflict with any of the built-in hotkey commands in Chrome. So every last thing works. The ligatures, the double tilde, the super and subscript parentheses, it's all fine. And, you can go in here, when you've got your copy of this, you can go here and change the hotkey commands to things you like. You can either delete things you don't use, or you can just deactivate them by setting them off as comments. Also, I should mention that I've got this set to that these will only work in Chrome, just to prevent conflicts with other programs. Let's see here. I think that's it for it. I'll actually give a demo of this in Folio. So I'm going to set this off aside. So here, for example, I can actually get the ligatures that we can't get to work in with Macro Express. So Control Alt K and Control Alt K they'll control those, and I think I can get the And I can get the super and subscript things to work. So this seems to work fairly well. And as free where it's available, anybody can download and install this. There's no worry about licensing or anything. And is that it for this? Yeah, I think.
No, you would show them the spreadsheet for.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I knew I'd forget something. Go back and share here. Using share, new share. Back to. Okay.
It's already in it.
Okay, yeah. Okay. There we go. Okay. Part of the documentation we'll be sharing is then this spreadsheet, which has the name of each diacritic and character, the hotkey combination we set up, along with the actual command. There's, the actual character itself, as well as any notes. And this is something too, then, that you could make a copy of for yourself and alter and customize, so that it kind of works for you, get rid of things that you don't use. So you're only looking at a small subset until you, at a point where you, remember your commands and all the rest of it. And then I think that is that. And then here we go.
All right. So the next tool is RN21 keyboards. So some of us are really familiar with using this RN21 keyboards. So there is availability that makes you can use it also in folio. And Robert will explain and will demo it for us too, right?
Yes. So let's see. Well, we're at it. We'll share a little bit of, hopefully later this week, we'll have some documentation up. Remove this again. We've got an old PDF that RLG created. It's actually got the mappings for all 4 Arlen keyboards, Latin, Arabic, Cyrillic, and then there's also the Hebrew keyboard. We will also have some instructions on using them, how to get it set up. Downloading and installing them from the OCLC website's pretty straightforward. What's a little bit unintuitive is how in Windows you actually activate it the first time around. And we'll have some instructions for that. And then further for the Arlen Latin 21 keyboard, which is something people can use to enter diacritics and special characters. I also found this old list from RLG that kind of lists out what the characters are and what the key commands on the keyboard are. The one downside to this is this particular method is you can't change any of the hotkey commands. They're basically kind of hard coded into the product, and you can't change anything. And I forget which one, but I could swear one of these, when I was testing it out, set off one of one of Folio's built-in hotkey commands. So, but I can show quickly how this works. Kind of the new share. I think I need to share the bottom of the screen again. I don't know if this is going to show up, but if you've got multiple keyboards, you can always go to the toolbar where it says ENGUS, and you would pick the keyboard, and then it should work in Folio. Let's see here. Where did I put my Folio record? And if I do this, I get a, Control-Alt-W is getting me the D with a crossbar. Control-Alt-R is getting me the OE digraph, things like that. So that's another method that we can use. And then let's see here. I think we go back to this window. And here we go.
Yeah, so now we will talk about Windows character maps. So Windows character map is one of most easiest tool you can use, but and it has very good upsides like the accessibility, as it's already installed in your Windows keyboard. It's a comprehensive character library, and you can copy and paste it very easily, but it has many downsides actually, like the time consuming for searching for the particular diacritic or special character, and the lack of customization, as you can't create or customize a list with your favorite or desired characters and special characters. And the verification of Unicode, it's really very challenging to be sure that the diacritic or the special characters you choose is the one that you really need and compatible with Folio. So I don't know if Robert has more to add about this tool.
Other than I've never liked using it.
Yeah, yeah. So yes, because of this all downsides. But if you have something like rare special characters and you can find it anywhere, I think you can just try to find it in this list. And finally, in this slide we have added some helpful resources like Mark 8 code tables and how to use Macro Express, which is really very helpful. It's one of pages in console, will make you more familiar with creating macros in Macro Express, and more links will be added too. And that's it for today, I think. Thank you, everyone.
So thank you, Robert and Magda. Are there any questions? There's one comment in the chat, but no questions so far. If nobody else has a question to start, I do have a question to start. Maybe you covered this. I had to go out for a moment, but you introduced quite a few ways of doing macros and special characters. Is there any one that you would let's see, where would you use which one where?
Personally, for purposes of Folio and even down the road in Sinopia, I myself would lean to using auto hotkey.
Why?
Yeah, but Nancy, some of us, we don't need all of these macros. So if some of us just use the macros from Macro Express and they work fine, it's okay. Like we will not need to use the whole list of the macros. So it depends on the needs. Any more questions?
Ooh. Okay. Says, can we use on-screen keyboard? Asu, can you explain what that is? I don't know what that is. So.
Yeah,
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I understand the question, I guess. So yes, you can use the on-screen keyboard when you use RN21 keyboard. More, it will show you how to find the keys, but will not be that helpful. On screen character map might be more helpful, but actually using macros like hotkeys will be more accurate. And Robert can add more.
Well, Depends, I guess, what people are most comfortable with, but I'm thinking that most of us as having been cataloging in either OCLC or in CIRCE, I don't know how Voyager handles this sort of thing. But in both of these programs, most of us are used to either using key commands to get diacritics and special characters, or, you know, the brief little table of diacritics and characters, as opposed to like a full-blown character map where you're looking for things like a lowercase a with umlauts, or, you know, an uppercase S with a hot check. So I don't know, I don't have much experience with on-screen keyboards and things like that, but I mean, for me, the motivation for first trying to do this in Macro Express and then auto hotkey is just for me to replicate what I experience in the tools I am currently using, and that's being able to hit Control-Alt-B and get an acute accent, hit Control-Alt-H and get an umlaut. But everybody works a little differently.
Yeah.
Okay, and because perhaps I don't know quite so well, an on-screen keyboard is actually the keyboard displays on the screen and you read it onto your own keyboard. Is that the idea?
Yes, I think that's what she meant, right, Asu?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
As
not
you know,
everybody knows these things, so.
yeah, it's kind of virtual keyboard, so you can bring on your desktop. So whatever you want to do, I think you can change the, you know, the script, or you can add, you know, diacritics.
Right. Right. But even like the Windows mapping, if you're only doing a few diacritics, it's probably quick enough to use, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me in my cases too, I'm usually using around probably 10 to 12 just because of the number of languages I work with. You know, going between things like French, Spanish, Portuguese, German, and Hungarian, that adds up pretty quick. So,
And add a little Serbo-Croatian in there too.
yeah, if I ever have to touch any Slavic languages, then it multiplies even more.
Okay, are there any other questions for today? Okay, well, then if so, I think that's our Metadata Monday for this week. And thank you all for coming. Just stay tuned next week. There is a possibility it may have to be canceled next week, but I will get back to you on that, okay? Okay, cheers.
Thank you. Bye.